Everybody, I'm Trudy here. Many of you know me as One Grounded Angel. I'm coming to you live from a horrible heat wave, so please bear with me. If I start to look a little bit red, you'll understand why. It's not just the energy I'm generating for this reading. So this is the angel card reading for the week beginning Monday the 21st of January through to Sunday the 27th, 2019. So I want to apologise for last week. I talked about the energy building up to a full moon, which was actually a massive deal because it's a super moon combined with a lunar eclipse. And I talked about it happening on Friday last week. It's actually happening on Monday, the 21st. I knew it was the 21st, but for some reason in my head the 21st was Friday. Numbers are my bag. I'm really sorry if I confused you, but the messages I was posting on Instagram, and thank you to the person who pointed that out, the messages I was posting was still relevant because I was talking about how the energy was building up. So a lot of astrologers talk about these energies taking place over 2 weeks. So every month you've got roughly, you've got one full moon and one new moon, depending on, of course, how the calendar falls with dates. But 1 week towards the full moon and 1 week after is when that energy is strong combined with that event. And then you've got 2 weeks covering the new moon. So roughly, I mean, what I'm trying to say here is the energy around a particular event isn't just confined to the day that it peaks. So many of you told me that you too were feeling that energy building up, and I was feeling it. I'm a Scorpio. I'm not a Leo. The eclipse is happening in Leo, but I still was affected by that because it depends, of course, on where that's happening in your own personal chart. So I felt I was struggling to sleep. I was constantly wired. Leo's a very creative sign, so it was helpful in that I was getting a lot of really great story ideas. But yeah, I was off kilter is the best way to put it, and emotional. And some of you were saying you felt the same way. So I apologise if I confused you with the date, but the messages still stand, and you may still be feeling that right now as the event, the eclipse is happening on Monday. It's a very powerful event. Whenever you've got a super moon or an eclipse coinciding with a full moon, well, if it's a new moon, it would be a solar eclipse, you're going to have the energy intensified. So please go easy on yourself. Whatever you're feeling, it's okay. It will pass. You're not going crazy. It's the moon, and you'll be fine. So on that note, I'm choosing to start the week Monday with the Goddess card deck because the moon is a very feminine energy. So we have White Tara Sensitivity. This is the card for Monday, and it talks about our sensitivity, not just in terms of being sensitive to what people are saying, because that's how we use it culturally, isn't it? We talk about being too sensitive when someone responds to something that was said or done. It's not just about that. It's also your sensitivity to energies, to chemicals, to particular foods. Wherever this, you've got to trust your intuition with any of these cards. So wherever this is triggering you, you'll know. Your intuition will be telling you. And what happens is when you're on a spiritual path, that sensitivity does increase. And potentially it was always there, you just weren't aware of it. I know for me, I started to realise I'd always been quite sensitive to other people's energies. I just hadn't known it. I didn't have the language for it. And so, picking up on when people were not very nice, when they were toxic, when, that sort of thing. I'd always had the ability to do that, but I just sort of thought, wow, that's just the world and you've got to suck it up. But once I started on this journey, I started to realise, actually, I don't have to subject myself to that. And in fact, I need to protect myself because if I'm taking on board this energy, it's going to be detrimental to my own well-being and my energetic health. So I've talked about shielding before. I shield my energy every day without fail. And if I forget, I know about it pretty quickly. You can find more information about that on my website if you just put shielding in the search field. But regardless of that, you still need to continue to protect yourself from particular energies. So look at where you might be exposing yourself to something you're really not liking. And it could be chemicals. It could be that you're using cleaners or something that maybe you're not connecting it right away, but afterwards you do feel a bit off, or maybe your skin's even reacting in a noticeable way. So just be really careful to avoid. It says avoid harsh relationships, environments, situations, and chemicals. That's very broad, but as I say, it's up to you as to how this relates to you. So just be mindful of your sensitivity. It's a good thing. You're going to be particularly sensitive today with the energy of that moon, and just give yourself what you need to protect yourself. You don't have to put up with these situations. Well, you might if it's your in-laws or something like that. But yeah, you can still limit your exposure, and you can certainly shield yourself. As I say, that will help. That way you can be around harsh environments and not be taking it on board and making other people's drama your stuff. What do we got here? So for Tuesday, the card is write about your thoughts and feelings. So I've talked many times about the healing powers of writing, and you do not have to be good. Please don't think I'm not a good writer, therefore this doesn't relate to me. It doesn't. It's not about your ability. It's about the process, not the product. It's not about what you're creating. It's about just sitting and having some form of self-expression where you will not be judged, because the paper is not going to judge you. You're trying to get all of the congestion and the stuff out of here onto the page. You're separating yourself from it. It's easier to get clarity, to see see a different perspective, and just to kind of distance yourself a bit. You let it go, and so this is really encouraging you to do that. If you can do it every day, great. 10 minutes, perfect. There is research backing up that that's helpful for your emotional resilience in the long term. So, but particularly if you are struggling with something at the moment, sometimes that's a better thing to do than going and asking other people for their advice, because although they may mean well, people are coming at you, giving you advice filtered from their own experiences, their own fears, and their own belief system, which may not be right for you. Sometimes it can certainly be helpful, but not always. Right, forgiveness. I struggle with this card a lot because I feel that I can sometimes inadvertently send the message that that you need to forgive absolutely everybody, and that it's easy, and once you do it, you'll be so much lighter. And it's really not that simplistic. So what the card is really telling you at its core is that when you hold on to things that hold on to elements of the past that you don't have closure from, that is weighing you down and keeping you stuck. And the angels want you to feel at peace. So they're asking you to let go of those toxic feelings in order to replace them with peace. But it's not always easy, particularly if what happened to you is part of a larger pattern. If someone hurt you, and there's something in your stuff around letting people take advantage of you, just forgiving them isn't going to go far enough. You need to be looking at their underlying pattern and to heal that in order to really get peace around this, because it's going to keep happening. And the other things to note about this is that forgiveness doesn't mean you're saying that it was okay. A lot of people don't want to trade their resentment towards someone because they think that means that what happened wasn't meaningful, and that they feel like they're condoning it in some way, and that's not really the case. It's almost like this horrible thing happened to me, therefore I have to suffer, because that's just the deal with this sort of suffering. And if I don't, it means that it means you're downplaying the hurt or the magnitude of what happened in some way. And I want to let you know that that's not the case, although I can certainly see why the ego attaches to that. And for me, absolutely, been there so many times. And when the person this is coming up for you, when someone has hurt you, who you are still connected to, maybe you're related to them, for example, it's going to be a lot harder, because maybe that is part of a larger pattern where they continue to treat you disrespectfully, for example. And maybe that's because there's some past life energy there. Maybe it's because of something you're not doing on your part to move away from that, or if it's possible, or whether you're somehow looking for acceptance from them and your expectations are not quite right. I know I'm being really vague here, but what I'm trying to say is sometimes with these cards I struggle, and this is one of those times, because this card is often portrayed too simplistic. I sort of feel like sometimes a card like this is saying, if you just let it go, it will be fine. And I want you to know that that's often not the case. So instead, the way I look at this card is, let's look at how we can address some of those past wounds and replace them with peace. What do we need to look at? So to me, it's part of a larger conversation of, where am I attached to the past and events that happened, and how am I still carrying that around? How is that showing up in my life? How am I still stuck? Hopefully I'm going to be able to explain all that more concisely when I put it on Insta this week. Wish me luck. So luckily I'm usually better at brevity in my writing than in my spoken words. So we're up to Thursday now. Oh, clear your space. This is the Marie Kondo card, okay? Yay for Marie Kondo. So I love, not to make this about TV watching, but one thing that Marie does is she is very focused on the energy of possessions. So you'll see when she goes into a house, those of you who don't watch Netflix might not know what I'm talking about here, but hopefully you will have heard of Marie Kondo, because she has been a best-selling author for a while. She is someone who teaches people how to get rid of clutter and how to organise their lives a bit better so that clutter doesn't overwhelm them. So she always takes note of the energy in the house, and she teaches people to thank their possessions for their service before they get rid of them. So, and if we look at that approach, that's really interesting, because she's looking really at, they're not just stuff. There's energy attached to them. And that means if you've got too much stuff that no longer serves you, absolutely it's going to affect your personal energy. You're going to be weighed down. And that's why it's important to clear it. I mean, one of the criticisms of that particular show is that there's now space and people will go out and fill it again if they haven't addressed those underlying causes, those emotions of, I need to have stuff in order to feel successful, or to make me feel... I don't know what it is, for safety. Sometimes it's for safety. A lot of people feel like they need to attach to stuff in order to remain connected to the past, or to feel like they've got everything they could possibly need for the future. So, very long-winded way of telling you that too much stuff is really going to weigh you down. So this card asks you to clear it. You don't have to go crazy, but you do have to make sure that you are not... because I think you go into survival mode a bit when something's too hard. You're just like, I'll deal with it later. It's too hard. I'll deal with it later. And you're just trying to get through the day. That dog is really annoying the crap out of me. You go into survival mode. You don't want to deal with it. So instead, it's about making it a priority, because it's for your well-being. And there's nothing really much more important than your own well-being. Without it, you haven't got a lot. So... clearing your space, and of course this does connect with this earlier card about energy, because you are sensitive to it. So things that remind you of the past are going to weigh you down. You could almost draw a line there with the forgiveness card when we're talking about the past there. So perhaps that's one of our passions for this week, or our themes to address. Be more mindful towards your stuff. It's probably one good way to look at it. Friday, this one sort of just jumped out, so much so that at first I was a little bit doubtful that it was right, but it's always right. And this was Sunday's card as well. Some of you might remember Shanti. In this particular card, she's depicted as the angel of peace. Many of you would not think of her as an angel. You might associate her as a deity in your own right. Whatever association you have, the message is about peace again. So this is asking you, how can you live in more tranquility? How can you get rid of some of the things that are weighing you down? Maybe that's clutter, or maybe it's some of your beliefs that you're holding on to. Maybe it's some of your expectations. If you're expecting someone to change and they keep letting you down, that is weighing you down. Absolutely, that is. And there's something you need to look at there. Sometimes it's very easy to get into a relationship with someone's potential instead of their reality. It's sort of a reassuring card, I guess, letting you know that things will get easier for you. But as with all these cards, the onus is always on you. So one of my frustrations with the cards is that sometimes they don't go far enough in telling people what they need to do. if I get a card that says everything's going to be all right, that's wonderful. That's incredibly reassuring. I love that. But that doesn't free me from my obligation to do work around that as well. If I want things to be okay, what is the work I need to do on that? Maybe I need to move on from something that I'm trying to push for or force. So yeah, always bear that in mind with these cards. Let's go on to Saturday. You guys probably can't even hear that dog. I don't know. Because it's so hot, I had the window open, but I'm just going to continue to melt here in this heat wave. It's getting close to 37 degrees. For those of you in America, I think it's almost 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's, yeah, it's pretty hot. So closing the windows may not have been a good idea, but there's a dog outside that won't stop barking, and it's really distracting me, but hopefully with this, you guys maybe can't even hear it. So Saturday emerging, the transformation card. I love this. If you can see this depiction, she is rising up from like leaves in a stem and reaching towards the sun like a plant. Plants are such a great analogy for our own growth because sowing seeds and not knowing what's going to grow and, you know, needing to tend to those seeds every single day, you know, in terms of our intentions, keep showing up, doing the work, keep believing, keep encouraging ourselves, and remembering that we don't control the rate at which it grows or the timing. We just have to keep doing the work. So this assures you that you are moving forward to the light. So keep doing that. Keep moving towards the light and be patient with the process. Sunday. What have we got for Sunday, the 27th of January? First month of 2019 almost over with. I don't know that this is right. No, it's not. Wrong deck. I'll go with this one maybe. Ooh, okay, turns out this was the right one after all. So Sunday, uplift your thoughts, the optimism card. So sometimes when I'm doing energy healing treatments, or that's the wrong word, sessions with clients, there's a particular energy healing or clearing that I do around blocks to optimism. So many people struggle to really commit to something they believe in or something they want to happen because they are scared it won't happen, and so they try to protect themselves a bit. That doesn't work. Trying to protect yourself by going, oh, probably won't happen anyway, oh, I'm going to write this book, but I'll probably never finish it. You do that so that you won't be too, the thinking is, I won't be too disappointed if it doesn't happen, but all it does is attract the result you don't want. You need to be fully invested. It's okay to have doubts and to be scared, but by trying to predict a negative outcome is really going to be your undoing. So commit to a good result and know you will be okay if it doesn't work out. So yeah, that's a clearing I do around any blocks to optimism with a lot of people, because it really does come up a lot for people because they are trying to protect themselves. And for a lot of people, including myself, I love my parents, but they were very negative. And again, self-protection. And, you know, it's also a lot to do with fears as well. Sometimes there's self-worth stuff going on. I don't believe I'm going to find a partner because if you dig around with that one, it can be something underlying it around, I don't think I'm good enough for a relationship. I don't, think anyone wants me. Clearing that away, universe, I'm just kidding. This is just an example. That's not relating to me. So the point I'm trying to make here is that watch the ways that pessimism or cynicism might be your undoing. As I say, it's been a big thing in my life. I've done a lot of clearing around it. Sometimes it still shows up, but because I have the energy to support positive results or positive beliefs now, it's easy for me not to buy into that stuff. So just watch where that's showing up for you. The message of the card, uplift your thoughts. It is about choosing to believe in the good results you cannot yet see. Sometimes we think, I'll believe it when I see it, but what you need to do is believe it and then it will appear. So it's the other way around. And just be really careful that you are, to use one of my favorite quotes, you are focusing on the donut, not on the hole. Focus on the good things you have. That will through the law of attraction, you will start to attract more blessings. We need to be focusing on what we have. If you're struggling financially, focusing on having the ability to buy the things that you do have rather than the things that you don't will help you. Excuse me. That's one that I need to do from time to time as well, to be honest. So it's very easy to look on, and we have that sort of negative bias to look at what's wrong, and ostensibly that's because we want to fix it, but actually maybe we need to be looking at all that's right, and that will gives the universe space to come through and bring in more blessings for us to help us. So the themes are around peace, to really oversimplify it, and that's come through with this forgiveness and around protecting our energy from these sort of toxins, and particularly around stuff. Now, when I talk about clutter in regards to that one, clutter isn't just physical, it's also emotional. Obviously, the two are connected. But it may be that what you need to declutter is some of those negative thought patterns, some of those limiting beliefs that you've got. I'm not good enough can be a big one for some people, particularly women. So, but look, it shows up for men as well. No one's no one's isolated from this stuff. What else do I need to tell you about this? So yeah, I would say clearing our energy and finding peace are the themes for the week. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to reading for you again next week. Don't forget, every card is on my Instagram and my Facebook page. My Instagram is @OneGroundedAngel and my Facebook page is OneGroundedAngel. If you want to book a personal reading or have an energy healing with me, you can do that via my website, which is www.onegroundedangel.com. OneGroundedAngel.com. There's a bookings form there. You can hit me up on that, and it asks you to tell me which country you live in as well, because my clients are all around the world, and I need that information so I can figure out your currency and your time zone as well. So thank you very much for watching. Take care and enjoy this rocky week. It's going to be okay.